You think attractiveness is about your face. You think it is about your body, your clothes, the way you photograph in the right light. You think that if you were just a little more beautiful, a little more polished, people would finally be drawn to you. But you're wrong. You are wrong about all of it. And that wrong belief is the exact reason you feel invisible in rooms full of people. The real truth is this: the most magnetic people you have ever met were not the most beautiful. They were the most rooted. Something about them pulled the air in the room toward them, and no one could explain why. That something has a name. I call it the anchored presence. It is the silent, invisible force that makes a person unforgettable without a single word. It is not charisma you perform, it is stability you carry. And most people will live their entire lives without ever discovering that it was available to them the whole time. Hear this and let it settle into you. You do not attract people by being wanted. You attract people by being whole. You are not remembered for how you looked. You are remembered for how you made the room feel. And here is the part that should frighten you. The person who never builds this force spends their life chasing attention that evaporates the moment they stop performing. They dress louder, they laugh louder, they post more, prove more, beg more, and still they are forgotten by morning. They mistake being noticed for being magnetic, and the gap between those two things quietly ruins them. So let me ask you something, and do not answer too quickly. When you walk out of a room, what do you leave behind in the people who were in it? Hold that question, because by the end of this you will know the answer and you will know exactly how to change it. Let me tell you what attractiveness actually is before we go any further, because everything you have been sold about it is a distraction. Attractiveness is not a surface, it is a signal. It is the quiet frequency your entire being gives off when your inner world is in order. People do not fall for your appearance, they fall for the state you are in. They feel your peace before they understand your words. They sense your self-respect before they see your face clearly. And this is why some of the most ordinary-looking people you know are surrounded by love and opportunity, while others who spend hours perfecting their reflection go home alone and cannot understand why. The mirror was never the problem. The state behind the mirror was. The Bible understood this thousands of years before neuroscience gave it language. In the first book of Samuel, when the prophet went to anoint the future king, he looked at the tall and handsome brother and assumed that was the one. But God said something that should be written on the wall of every person who has ever felt not beautiful enough. Man looks on the outward appearance, but the Lord looks on the heart. And then God passed over every impressive brother and chose David, the youngest, the one left in the field with the sheep, the one no one thought to invite. The most attractive quality David carried was not his face. It was the alignment of his inner life. It was a heart so anchored in God that kings feared him and nations followed him. That is anchored presence in its purest form. Napoleon Hill said that you are the master of your fate and the captain of your soul because you have the power to control your thoughts. He understood that what radiates from a person is not their circumstance, but their inner discipline. A magnetic person is simply someone whose inner house is in order, and that order leaks out of them in a way that others feel and cannot resist. So the 7 habits I am about to give you are not tricks. They are not lines to say or poses to strike. They are the construction of an inner house so strong that presence becomes automatic. Let us begin building it, one habit at a time, and by the end, you will not have to try to be attractive. You will simply be it. The first habit is stillness. And I know that in a world that worships motion, stillness sounds like weakness. But watch closely the people who command a room without effort. They do not fidget. They do not fill every silence with nervous noise. They do not rush to explain themselves. There is a slowness to them, a groundedness, and it is magnetic precisely because it is rare. When you are still, you communicate something powerful without saying a word. You communicate that you are not afraid. You communicate that you do not need this moment to go a certain way in order to feel okay. And nothing is more attractive than a person who does not need your approval to remain at peace. The anxious person repels without meaning to. They speak too fast because they fear being interrupted. They laugh too soon because they fear the silence. They agree too quickly because they fear rejection. And people feel all of it. The nervous system of another human reads your inner state before their conscious mind can catch up. When you are frantic inside, others feel unsafe near you, even if they cannot name why. When you're still inside, others feel calm near you, and calm is the thing every exhausted human being is secretly starving for. You become a place people want to stay. The scripture tells us, "Be still and know that I am God." Notice it does not say strive and know. It does not say prove and know. It says be still. The knowing comes after the stillness, not before it. There is a strength that can only be accessed when you stop moving, a certainty that only arrives in the quiet. Elijah learned this on the mountain. He looked for God in the great wind that tore the rocks, but God was not in the wind. He looked in the earthquake, but God was not in the earthquake. He looked in the fire, but God was not in the fire. And then came a still, small voice, and that was where God was. The power you are looking for is not in the noise you make. It is in the stillness you can hold. Napoleon Hill said that all the breaks you need in life wait within your imagination, for imagination is the workshop of your mind. But that workshop cannot operate in chaos. A frantic mind produces frantic results. A still mind produces vision, and vision is what pulls people toward you, because everyone wants to stand near someone who seems to know where they are going. Your stillness is not passivity. It is the deep confidence of someone who trusts the outcome before it arrives. So here is your first practice, and I want you to actually do it, not just hear it. Tonight, before you sleep, sit for 2 minutes and do nothing. No phone, no music, no plan, just breathe. Feel your feet on the floor. Feel the weight of your own body being held by the earth. And say quietly to yourself, I am safe. I am grounded. I have nothing to prove. Do this until the frantic voice inside you grows quiet. And tomorrow, when you enter a room, carry that stillness with you like a temperature. Watch how differently people respond to you when you stop performing and start simply being present. If this first habit already shook something loose in you, I want you to pause right now and write one word in the comments. Write the word anchored. Just that one word. Anchored. Because writing it is a small act of claiming it, and I want to see how many of you are ready to stop chasing and start becoming. The second habit is self-respect that does not beg. And this one will cost you some comfortable habits, because most people are addicted to seeking approval without even knowing it. They shrink to make others comfortable. They apologize for taking up space. They say yes when every cell in their body is screaming no, because they are terrified that a single boundary will make them unlovable. And here is the tragedy. The more you abandon yourself to keep others close, the less they respect you and the less they are drawn to you. People are not attracted to your desperation to please them. They are attracted to your willingness to disappoint them when your dignity requires it. Think about the people you respect most. They are not the ones who agree with everything. They are the ones who have a center, a spine, a quiet line they will not cross for anyone. When they say yes, it means something, because you know they are capable of saying no. Their approval is valuable precisely because it is not given away for free. And this is the paradox that will change your life if you let it. The less you need everyone to like you, the more they will. The moment you stop begging for a seat at the table, they start pulling out a chair. The Bible gives us a striking picture of this in the story of Daniel. Taken captive to a foreign kingdom, surrounded by pressure to conform, offered the king's rich food and wine, Daniel purposed in his heart that he would not defile himself. He did not make a scene. He did not lecture anyone. He simply held his line with quiet dignity, and the scripture says God gave him favor and compassion in the sight of those in power over him. His boundaries did not push people away. They drew respect toward him. The whole kingdom eventually came to value the man who valued himself. Self-respect is not selfishness. It is the soil that everything magnetic grows in. Napoleon Hill said that there is one quality which one must possess to win, and that is definiteness of purpose, the knowledge of what one wants and a burning desire to possess it. But you cannot have a definite purpose while you are busy being whoever the last person wanted you to be. A person with no boundaries has no shape, and what has no shape cannot be held, cannot be admired, cannot be desired. Your boundaries are what give you form. They are what make you a somebody instead of an anybody. So here is your practice. This week you are going to say no to one thing you would normally say yes to out of fear. Just one. Not cruelly, not with a speech, just a simple and calm no. Feel the discomfort of it and do not collapse. And each morning before you face anyone, look at yourself and say, I am worthy of respect, and I do not have to earn it by disappearing. Repeat it until you believe it in your bones. Because a person who respects themselves teaches the whole world how to treat them, and the world always obeys. The third habit is genuine attention to others, and this may be the most counterintuitive thing I will tell you today. You spend so much energy trying to be interesting, when the truly magnetic people have discovered that it is far more powerful to be interested. Think about the last time someone looked at you, truly looked at you, and listened as if nothing else in the world existed. Remember how that felt. Remember how much you wanted to be near that person again. They did not dazzle you with stories about themselves. They made you feel like the most fascinating person in the room, and you walked away thinking they were extraordinary, when all they really did was pay attention to you. Most people do the opposite. They wait for their turn to talk. They nod while planning their next sentence. They scan the room for someone more important while you are still speaking, and people feel that too. They feel when your attention is real and when it is a performance. Nothing repels like a person who is clearly using every conversation as a stage for themselves. And nothing attracts like a person who makes you feel seen. To be seen is one of the deepest hungers of the human heart, and the person who feeds that hunger becomes unforgettable. Jesus modeled this perfectly. In the middle of a crushing crowd with people pressing in on every side, a single sick woman reached out and touched the edge of his garment, believing she would be healed. And he stopped. In the chaos, he stopped and asked, "Who touched me?" The disciples were baffled. "Everyone is touching you," they said. But he was not talking about the crowd. He was talking about the one. He gave his full attention to a single trembling woman that everyone else had overlooked. And that attention changed her life. The most powerful person in the story was also the most present. He saw the one that the crowd made invisible. Napoleon Hill spoke of the value of a pleasing personality, and at the heart of it, he placed the simple ability to make others feel important. He understood that people will forget what you said, but they will never forget how you made them feel about themselves. When you make someone feel important, you're not flattering them. You're honoring the image of God in them. You are treating them as if they matter, and in doing so you become someone who matters deeply to them. So here is your practice, and it is beautifully simple. In your next 3 conversations, ask one more question than you normally would. When someone answers, do not immediately turn it back to yourself. Ask a follow-up, get curious. Let them feel the rare gift of being fully heard. And silently, before you speak with anyone, set an intention. Say within yourself, I am here to see this person, not to be seen. Watch how that single shift makes people light up around you. Watch how they begin to seek you out, not because you performed, but because you paid attention. If you have ever been the person no one really listened to, and you know exactly how lonely that feels, type the words "I see you" in the comments right now. Type it for every person who has ever felt invisible. I see you. Let us fill that space with people who have decided to become the kind of presence they once needed. The 4th habit is emotional mastery. Not the suppression of emotion, but the mastery of it. There is a vast difference. The person who explodes at every offense is not strong. They are enslaved by whoever can push their buttons. And the person who bottles everything and pretends nothing touches them is not strong either. They are simply postponing the flood. True emotional mastery is something else entirely. It is the ability to feel deeply and respond wisely. It is the power to stay steady when everything around you is designed to shake you. And that steadiness is one of the most attractive forces a human being can carry, because it makes others feel safe in your presence. Consider what actually happens in a room when someone loses control. The energy collapses, people tense, they walk on eggshells. They start managing you instead of connecting with you. But when someone remains calm in the face of provocation, something remarkable occurs. They rise in everyone's eyes. The person who could have snapped and chose not to, the person who was insulted and answered with grace, that person becomes the strongest one in the room. Your emotions, when mastered, become a kind of gravity. People are drawn to those who cannot be easily thrown. The scriptures tell us that he who is slow to anger is better than the mighty, and he who rules his spirit than he who takes a city. Read that again. Ruling your own spirit is compared to conquering an entire city. It is that difficult, and it is that valuable. Joseph understood this. Sold into slavery by his own brothers, lied about and thrown into prison for a crime he did not commit, betrayed at every turn, he could have become bitter. He could have become a man ruled by rage, but he mastered his heart. And when the day came that his brothers stood before him, powerless at his mercy, he did not destroy them. He wept, and he told them, "You meant it for evil, but God meant it for good." That is a man who ruled his spirit. That is a man whose presence changed a nation. Napoleon Hill said that the subconscious mind will translate into reality a thought driven by emotion. He understood that emotion is a force, and a force uncontrolled is destruction, but a force mastered is creation. When you learn to hold your emotions instead of being held by them, you become the calm center that others orbit. You become the one people call when their own world is falling apart, because they know you will not add to the storm. You will be the still place in it. So here is your practice. The next time you feel the heat rise in you, the anger, the anxiety, the urge to react, you are going to do one thing before anything else. You are going to breathe. One slow breath in, filling completely. One slow breath out, releasing fully. And in that breath you will say silently, "I feel this, but this does not command me." Just that pause, just that one breath between the feeling and the action. That gap is where your power lives. Practice it, and watch yourself become the most unshakable person in every room you enter. The fifth habit is purpose, and this is where attractiveness stops being about how you make others feel and starts being about where you are going. There is a specific kind of magnetism that clings to a person who knows their direction. You have felt it. You meet someone, and within minutes, you sense that they are moving toward something, that their life has a spine to it, a mission, a reason. And you find yourself wanting to be near them, wanting to be part of whatever they are building. Purpose is attractive because it is rare, and it is rare because most people are drifting, and drifting is exhausting to be around. The person without purpose leaks a quiet desperation. They look to relationships to give their life meaning, and that weight crushes every connection they try to build. They cling because they have nothing of their own to stand on. They demand that others complete them, and no one can carry that. But the person with purpose brings something to the table instead of only reaching across it to take. They are whole before they are joined. They offer their fullness rather than begging to be filled. And that is irresistible because everyone wants to be chosen by someone who was already complete without them. The Bible is a book of people with purpose. Consider Nehemiah, a man who heard that the walls of his city lay in ruins and could not rest until he rebuilt them. When his enemies tried to distract him, to pull him down into their petty conflicts, he sent back words that should be tattooed on the heart of every person who has ever been pulled off course. "I am doing a great work and I cannot come down. I'm doing a great work." Say that to yourself. That single sentence carries more magnetism than any outfit, any face, any performance. A person who knows they are doing a great work does not chase, does not beg, does not shrink. They simply keep building, and the world gathers around the walls they raise. Napoleon Hill built his entire philosophy on this foundation. He said that the starting point of all achievement is desire, and that a definite purpose backed by a burning desire is the beginning of every fortune, every great life, every magnetic presence. He watched thousands of people and found that the ones who drew opportunity and loyalty and love toward them were the ones who knew exactly what they were living for. Purpose organizes you. It aligns your walk, your words, your eyes. And people feel that alignment the moment you enter a room. So here is your practice, and it requires honesty. Tonight, before you sleep, ask yourself one question and write down whatever comes. What is the great work of my life? Not your job, not what impresses others. The great work. The thing that would make you feel your existence mattered. And then each morning, before the noise of the world reaches you, Remind yourself of it. Say, I am doing a great work, and I cannot come down. Carry that into every room and watch how differently people treat a person who is clearly going somewhere. And I want to pause here for a moment because we are standing right in the middle of this journey, and something is happening inside you as you listen. You are starting to realize that the thing you have been missing was never on the outside. If you can feel that shift, even a little, then do something with it right now. Reach over and tap the like button, not as a favor to me, but as a signal to yourself that you are ready to change. And if you have not subscribed yet, do it now and turn on the bell, because the next lessons that reach you might be the very ones that finish the work we are starting today. Every time you return to this channel, you are choosing to become the person you were always meant to be. Now let us continue, because the last two habits are the ones that hold everything else together. The sixth habit is authenticity, and I know that word has been worn thin by overuse, so let me give it back its weight. Authenticity is not saying whatever you feel whenever you feel it. Authenticity is the exhausting mask finally coming off. It is the moment you stop performing a version of yourself that you think people will accept, and you begin to trust that the real you is enough. And here is what almost no one understands. The mask was never protecting you, it was isolating you. Because when people are drawn to your performance, you can never rest, and you can never believe their love is real, since they never met the real you to begin with. The person who pretends is always tired. They are running two lives, the one they show and the one they hide, and the gap between them is a wound that never heals. But the person who is authentic carries a lightness that others can feel. There is nothing to defend, nothing to maintain, nothing to expose. What you see is what is there. And that congruence, that wholeness between the inside and the outside, is deeply magnetic, because it gives others permission to take off their own masks too. In the presence of a truly authentic person, everyone breathes easier. Everyone feels they can finally be real. The scriptures honor this deeply. We are told that God desires truth in the inward parts, truth not just in what we show, but in the hidden places of the heart. And think of Nathanael, whom Jesus described the moment he saw him as an Israelite in whom there is no deceit. What a thing to be known for! No deceit, no hidden agenda, no second face. Nathanael did not have to be impressive. His transparency was his power. When Jesus saw a man with nothing to hide, he saw a man worth calling. God is not drawn to the polished performance. God is drawn to the honest heart, and so, in the end, are people. Napoleon Hill warned again and again against the person who wears a false face, who tries to succeed through pretense and manipulation. He taught that a pleasing personality must be built on sincerity of purpose, because people can sense insincerity the way they sense a change in the weather. You cannot fake your way into lasting magnetism. You can perform your way into brief attention, but attention built on a mask collapses the moment the mask slips. Real attraction is built on the solid ground of a person who is exactly who they appear to be. So here is your practice. This week, in one conversation, you are going to share something true that you would normally hide. Not something dramatic, just something real. An honest opinion, a genuine feeling, a small admission that you do not have it all figured out. And notice that the sky does not fall. Notice that the person leans in rather than away. And each day look at yourself and say, I am enough as I am, and I no longer need to perform to be loved. Because the exhausting work of pretending ends the moment you decide the real you was always worthy. The seventh habit is inner gratitude, and I have saved it for last because it is the soil that all the others grow in. There is a certain glow that comes off a grateful person, and you cannot manufacture it. It is not a smile you paste on. It is a light that comes from within, from a heart that has learned to see the good instead of the lack. The ungrateful person, no matter how beautiful, carries a heaviness, a subtle complaint that hangs in the air around them. They are always slightly dissatisfied, always measuring what is missing, and that energy pushes people away without a word being spoken. But the grateful person is a warmth that others want to stand near. They make life feel more livable simply by being in it. Consider why this is so powerful. Gratitude is the opposite of neediness, and neediness is the great repellent. The needy person approaches every relationship asking, "What can I get? What can you give me? What am I owed?" But the grateful person approaches life already full, already blessed, already rich in spirit, and so they give rather than grasp. They are not trying to extract love from you, because they already have love within them. And that abundance is magnetic in a way that scarcity can never be. People are drawn to the person who does not need them, but chooses them anyway, from a place of overflow rather than emptiness. The Bible commands us to give thanks in all circumstances, not because every circumstance is good, but because gratitude changes the one who gives it. Remember the 10 lepers whom Jesus healed. 10 were cleansed, 10 had their lives restored, but only 1 turned back to give thanks. And to that one, Jesus said something the other 9 never heard. He said, "Your faith has made you well." The other 9 were healed in body, but the grateful one was made whole. There is a wholeness that only gratitude unlocks, a completion of the healing that goes deeper than the skin. Gratitude did not just change his circumstance, it changed his entire being, and that is what people feel when they stand near a truly thankful soul. Napoleon Hill placed gratitude at the very center of his teaching on the subconscious mind. He said that a state of mind saturated with gratitude and faith sends a signal to the deeper mind that reshapes your entire reality. He understood that what you focus on expands, and the person who focuses on their blessings becomes a magnet for more of them, including the blessing of drawing good people toward them. Gratitude is not a soft virtue, it is a creative force. It rewrites the atmosphere you carry, and that atmosphere is the first thing every person feels when they meet you. So here is your final practice, and it is the one I want you to keep for the rest of your life. Every night before you sleep, name 3 things you are grateful for. Not in a rush, not as a chore, but slowly feeling each one. Let the gratitude actually rise in your chest, and as you drift off, let that be the last frequency your mind holds, because what you fall asleep in, you wake up as. Fall asleep in gratitude night after night, and you will wake up as the kind of person others cannot explain their attraction to. They will simply feel your light and want to be near it. Now let me take you deeper, because there is a hidden layer beneath these 7 habits that most people never reach, and it is this. Attractiveness is not something you do to be seen by others. It is something that happens to you when you finally see yourself the way God sees you. Every one of these habits is really an act of coming home to your own worth. And this is why the surface strategies always fail. You cannot perform your way into feeling whole. You cannot dress your way out of an inner emptiness. The emptiness follows you into every room, and people feel it, no matter how bright your smile. But when the inner house is built, when you truly know who you are, the light comes on by itself, and you do not have to convince anyone of anything. Consider how much of your life you have spent trying to be chosen, trying to be picked, trying to prove that you deserve a place at the table. And consider how tiring that has been, how it has drained you, how it has made you smaller and smaller in your attempt to be wanted. There is another way to live, and it begins with a single realization. You were already chosen. Before you performed, before you achieved, before you fixed yourself, you were already loved by the one who made you. The scripture says, "You did not choose me, but I chose you." When that truth moves from your head to your heart, the desperation drains out of you, and what remains is a person at peace, and a person at peace is the most attractive person alive. This is why the anxious pursuit of attractiveness always backfires. The more you need people to find you beautiful, the more you leak the very insecurity that pushes them away. Desperation has a smell, and the human heart detects it instantly. But the person who has stopped needing to be chosen because they know they already were, carries a freedom that draws people in like warmth on a cold night. They are not auditioning, they are not performing, they are simply present, and their presence is a rest that exhausted people are desperate to find. You become attractive the moment you stop trying to be, and you can only stop trying when you finally believe you are already enough. Let me warn you about the trap that swallows most people, because I do not want it to swallow you. The trap is comparison. It is the habit of measuring your worth against another person's surface. You see someone who seems more beautiful, more successful, more loved, and something in you shrinks. And in that shrinking, you lose the one thing that was truly attractive about you, which was your peace, your center, your unrepeatable self. Comparison is the thief that robs you of your own magnetism, because a copy is never as compelling as an original. The world does not need another version of someone else. It needs the anchored, authentic, grateful version of you, and no one on this earth can offer what you offer when you are fully yourself. Napoleon Hill spoke of the mastermind, the idea that when two or more minds come together in harmony, a third invisible force is created that is greater than the sum of its parts. And there is a spiritual truth hidden in this that changes everything about how you show up with others. When you approach people from wholeness rather than need, you create harmony, and harmony creates a force that lifts everyone. But when you approach from lack, always taking, always draining, you create friction, and friction repels. The 7 habits I have given you are, at their core, the way you become a person who creates harmony wherever they go. You become someone whose presence makes others better, and there is nothing on earth more magnetic than that. And here is something the scriptures return to again and again. The people God used most powerfully were rarely the ones the world would have chosen for their appearance. Moses had a stammering tongue. Gideon called himself the least in his family. Sarah was old. David was overlooked. Paul was described as unimpressive in person. And yet these are the names that echo across thousands of years, the people whose presence changed history. Why? Because their magnetism came from within, from their alignment with something greater than themselves. They were not attractive because of what they looked like. They were attractive because of what they were connected to, and you have access to the same connection they did. So do not despise the outer things, but do not worship them either. Take care of your body because it is a temple, not because it is a trophy. Present yourself with dignity because you honor the one who made you, not because you are begging for approval. The moment your outer presentation flows from inner wholeness instead of inner emptiness, everything changes. The same haircut, the same clothes, the same face, but a completely different person because the light behind them is finally on. People will notice, and they will not be able to explain what changed, but you will know. What changed was that you stopped chasing and started becoming. There is a beautiful order to how this unfolds in a life, and I want you to trust the process even when you cannot see the results yet. You will practice the stillness before you feel calm. You will hold the boundary before you feel worthy. You will give the attention before it feels natural. You will breathe through the emotion before you feel in control. You will speak your purpose before you fully believe it. You will drop the mask before you feel safe. You will give thanks before you feel grateful. The feeling follows the practice, it always does. This is the great secret that impatient people never discover, because they quit before the harvest. You plant in faith, and the change grows quietly beneath the surface. And one day you realize you have become the person you were only pretending to be at the start. Let me show you now how these 7 habits reshape the 3 arenas where you most want to be attractive. Because a truth that stays abstract never changes a life. The first arena is love. So many people enter relationships as beggars, arriving at another person's door with an empty cup, demanding that this person fill what only inner work can fill. And no human being can do that job. It is too heavy. When you make another person responsible for your wholeness, you slowly crush the very love you were trying to keep. But the person who has built anchored presence comes to love already full. They do not need their partner to complete them, so they are free to simply enjoy them. They love from overflow, not from lack, and that kind of love is the only kind that lasts. The scripture says that perfect love casts out fear, and it is fear, the fear of being unloved, that ruins most relationships. Cast out the fear by becoming whole, and love finally has room to breathe. The second arena is your work, your calling, the way you move through the world of others in pursuit of your purpose. And here, anchored presence is worth more than any credential. People do business with those they trust, and trust is built by the steady, the authentic, the ones who keep their word and keep their calm. The person who masters their emotions does not blow up a deal in a moment of ego. The person who gives genuine attention makes clients feel valued and colleagues feel seen. The person with clear purpose inspires others to follow. Napoleon Hill studied the most successful people of his age, and he found again and again that raw talent was never the deciding factor. The deciding factor was character, the inner qualities that make people want to work with you, follow you, and open doors for you. Build the inner house, and the outer doors open on their own. The third arena is the most important of all, and it is the one you never escape. It is your relationship with yourself, because you will spend every moment of your life in your own company. You are the one person you can never leave, and no amount of external attractiveness can quiet the voice inside that whispers you are not enough. But these 7 habits do something the mirror never could. They make you a person you actually respect. When you keep your boundaries, you trust yourself more. When you master your emotions, you feel steadier inside. When you live your purpose, you fall asleep with meaning instead of emptiness. When you practice gratitude, you wake up in peace. Slowly, the inner voice changes. It stops attacking and starts encouraging. And a person at peace with themselves is radiant in a way no cosmetic can ever match, because the war is over and the calm shows on their face. I want to give you now a complete evening ritual, one you can return to every single night, that gathers all 7 habits into a single practice. Think of it as the nightly construction of your inner house. When the day is done and the world grows quiet, this is how you build the person you are becoming. Begin by finding a quiet place where you will not be disturbed. Sit or lie down and let your body grow heavy. Take 3 slow, deep breaths, and with each exhale, release the noise of the day. Feel yourself arriving in the stillness. This is the first habit, and it is the doorway to all the others. Once you are still, place a hand on your own heart and speak to yourself with the self-respect you have too often withheld. Say quietly, "I honored myself today, and where I did not, I forgive myself, and tomorrow I will honor myself again." Feel the dignity in those words. You are not your mistakes. You are a soul worthy of respect, and you are learning to give it to yourself. Let that self-respect settle into your chest like a warm stone. Now bring to mind the people you encountered today, and instead of judging them or replaying every awkward moment, send each of them a silent blessing. See their faces and wish them well. This trains the habit of genuine attention, of turning your heart toward others rather than curling in on your own anxieties. And notice how much lighter you feel when you bless instead of resent, when you release instead of grip. A heart that blesses others becomes a heart that others are drawn to. Then, gently, revisit any moment today where your emotions rose and threatened to rule you. Do not shame yourself for it. Simply breathe into it now, in the safety of the evening, and feel the emotion loosen its grip. Say, "I felt this and I am learning to master it, and I am growing stronger every day." This is how you practice emotional mastery even after the moment has passed, rewiring your response for the next time. Now speak your purpose aloud or in your heart. Remind yourself of the great work of your life, whatever it is you named. Say, "I am doing a great work and I cannot come down." Feel the direction return to you, the sense that your life is going somewhere, that your days have a spine. And in that clarity, drop every mask you wore today. Let the real you exhale. Say, "I am enough as I am, and I no longer need to perform to be loved." Feel the exhaustion of pretending melt away. And finally, the crown of the whole ritual. Name 3 things you are grateful for slowly, letting each one warm you. Perhaps the breath in your lungs. Perhaps a kind word someone spoke. Perhaps simply that you are still here, still trying, still becoming. Let gratitude be the last frequency in your mind as you drift towards sleep. And as you fall, hold this final thought. I am anchored. I am whole. I am becoming the person love is drawn to. Sleep in that night after night, and you will wake week after week as a person the world cannot stop noticing, though they will never fully understand why. Do not underestimate this ritual because it is simple. The most powerful things in life are simple, and they work not because they are complicated, but because they are repeated. Napoleon Hill said that any idea, plan, or purpose held in the mind through repetition of thought and charged with emotion begins to shape itself into physical reality. This ritual is that principle in action. Each night you repeat it, you deepen the grooves of a new identity, until one day the anchored presence is no longer something you practice, but something you are. And on that day, you will walk into rooms and feel the shift, and you will remember this moment, the moment you decided to stop chasing and start becoming. Now I want you to understand how these 7 habits work together, because they are not 7 separate tools. They are one presence, expressed 7 ways. Stillness gives you a center. Self-respect gives you a shape. Attention gives you warmth. Emotional mastery gives you steadiness. Purpose gives you direction. Authenticity gives you truth. And gratitude gives you light. Put them together, and you have the anchored presence, the invisible force I named at the very beginning, the thing that makes a person unforgettable long after they have left the room. This is not a costume you put on. It is a self you become, layer by layer, night by night, choice by choice. And I want you to feel this now, not just understand it. So wherever you are, if it is safe to do so, close your eyes for a moment. Let your shoulders drop. Take one slow breath in through your nose and let it out through your mouth. Feel your body settle. Now I want you to see yourself tomorrow, walking into a room. But this is not the old you, the anxious one, the one who scans for approval. This is the anchored you. See how you walk, slower, grounded, certain. See the calm in your own face. Feel the stillness in your chest that needs nothing from anyone. You enter, and you are not begging the room for anything because you already carry your own peace with you. See yourself turning your attention fully to another person. Watch their face change as they realize you are truly listening, truly present, truly with them. Feel how safe they feel near you. Feel the quiet confidence in your own boundaries, the self-respect that lets you be kind without being consumed. And underneath it all, feel the gratitude glowing in your chest, the sense that you are already whole, already blessed, already enough. This is who you are becoming, not through effort, through alignment. Breathe it in. Let your subconscious accept this image as your new normal, because the mind cannot tell the difference between a scene vividly imagined and a memory truly lived. You are planting a seed right now that will grow into the person you are meant to be. And now let me say the words I want you to carry with you. Say them silently with me. I am anchored. I am whole. I have nothing to prove and nothing to hide. I do not chase, because I have become. My presence is a gift, and I give it freely. Let those words settle into the deep part of you where real change happens. Repeat them tomorrow morning. Repeat them tomorrow night. Repeat them until they stop being words you say and start being the truth you live. At the very beginning of this, I asked you a question, and I told you to hold it. I asked, when you walk out of a room, what do you leave behind in the people who were in it? Now you know the answer. The person who has not built anchored presence leaves behind nothing, or worse, leaves behind the faint memory of someone who tried too hard. But the person who has built these 7 habits leaves behind a warmth that lingers. They leave people feeling more seen, more calm, more alive than before they walked in. You do not leave behind an impression of your face. You leave behind the way you made the room feel. And that, more than any beauty, is what makes a human being truly unforgettable. So stop chasing attractiveness on the surface where it was never hiding. Build it in the deep places instead. Build the stillness. Build the self-respect. Build the attention, the mastery, the purpose, the authenticity, the gratitude. Build the inner house and let it leak out of you into every room you ever enter. You were never meant to beg for love. You were meant to become the kind of soul that love is drawn to. And now you know exactly how. Remember the truth we started with and never forget it. You do not attract people by being wanted. You attract people by being whole. And there is one more thing I need you to understand about the stillness, the very first habit, because it is the one people abandon fastest. In the beginning, stillness will feel uncomfortable. Your mind will scream at you to check your phone, to fill the silence, to do something, anything, because you have trained it for years to run. This discomfort is not a sign that stillness is wrong for you. It is the exact opposite. It is the sign that you needed it most. The restlessness you feel in the quiet is the same restlessness that has been sabotaging every room you walk into. And now, for the first time, you are meeting it directly instead of feeding it. Stay in the discomfort. Breathe through it. On the other side of that restlessness is a calm you have not felt in years, and that calm is the foundation everything else is built upon. The same is true for every habit here. Each one will feel unnatural before it feels powerful. The boundary will feel selfish before it feels like self-respect. The full attention will feel exhausting before it feels like connection. The honesty will feel dangerous before it feels like freedom. This is the law of all real growth. The new self always feels like a costume before it becomes your skin. So do not judge these habits by how they feel in the first week. Judge them by who you have become in the first month and the first year. Because the person who endures the awkward beginning is the person who inherits the magnetic end. Napoleon Hill said that persistence is to the character of man as carbon is to steel. It is the quiet, unglamorous continuing that turns a soft intention into an unbreakable identity. Before we close, I want to speak to the part of you that is afraid this will not work for you. The part that has heard beautiful ideas before and watched them fade by the weekend. The part that whispers, this is for other people, people who are already confident, already attractive, already ahead. I want you to hear me clearly. This is precisely for you. The person who feels behind is the person these habits were made for, because they are the person willing to build from the ground up. And the ground up is where the strongest houses are made. The confident ones you envy often built nothing. They inherited a feeling. But you are about to construct something real, brick by brick. And what you build with your own hands will never be taken from you. You are not too old for this. Sarah was past the age when anyone expected anything from her, and her name is remembered still. You are not too broken for this. David was an adulterer and a failed father, and he was still called a man after God's own heart because he kept returning, kept building, kept becoming. You are not too late for this. The thief on the cross found his wholeness in his final hour. Wherever you are, whatever you have done, however invisible you have felt, the door to becoming is open to you right now, tonight, in this moment. All it asks is that you begin, not perfectly. Just begin. Practice the stillness tonight. Hold one boundary this week. Give one person your full attention tomorrow. Small acts, repeated, become an unstoppable becoming. And remember what all of this was really about. It was never about being wanted. Being wanted is a shallow thing, a flickering thing, here one moment and gone the next. What you were truly hungry for underneath it all was to be whole, to stop performing, to stop begging, to finally rest in the truth that you are enough, that you were chosen before you did anything to deserve it, that the light you have been searching for in the eyes of others was inside you the entire time. Build the 7 habits, and you will not have to chase attractiveness ever again. You will carry it with you, quiet and unshakable, into every room for the rest of your life. Now I want to ask something of you, because this message was made to be lived, not just heard. If any part of this reached the place in you that has felt invisible, unseen, or not enough, then take a moment right now and leave a comment with these words. Write, I am becoming whole. Just those 3 words. I am becoming whole. Because writing them is a declaration to your own subconscious that a new chapter has begun. And I read these comments, and there is nothing that moves me more than watching a person decide to rise. Let us fill this space with people who have chosen to stop chasing and start becoming. And if this message gave you even one thing worth keeping, do these simple things so that it can reach others who need it too. Tap the like button, because it truly helps this message find the next person sitting alone, feeling invisible, wondering if they will ever be enough. Subscribe to this channel and turn on the bell so that the next lesson finds you at the exact moment you need it, because this is a journey and we are only at the beginning of it. And share this video with someone you love, someone who has been chasing on the surface and exhausting themselves, someone who needs to hear that they were whole all along. Your share might be the thing that changes their entire life. Rest now in what you have learned. You do not have to become someone else to be attractive. You have to become fully yourself, anchored and whole and grateful and true. The most magnetic thing you will ever do is stop performing and start being. So carry your anchored presence into the world and let every room you enter feel a little warmer, a little calmer, a little more alive simply because you were in it. You were never meant to beg for love. You were made to be the kind of soul that love cannot help but come home to. Go and become that soul starting tonight, and never forget the truth we began with. You do not attract people by being wanted. You attract people by being whole.